At dawn on the 6th of June, 1944, German gunners at the French coast thought they were answering another false alarm. But when Lieutenant Walter Ulm peered through his rangefinder, he froze. The horizon had vanished. In its place, nearly 7,000 Allied ships, a steel highway across the channel so vast it looked impossible. In that moment, German tactics, training, even courage, none of it mattered anymore. The war had become an equation, and the Allies had the math. This is the story of D-Day, told not as a clash of men, but as a collision of numbers. At 5 a.m., the last shade of night still hung over Normandy when German batteries at Crisbeck opened fire. Their 210mm guns roared to life, shells streaking toward battleships like USS Nevada and USS Texas. The sound was thunderous, a rolling shockwave that rattled every bunker. One lucky hit even cracked the keel of the USS Corey, sending her under in flames. But the response? Tenfold. Battleship shells the size of men slammed into the coast, tearing apart concrete casemates and cutting phone lines. For every German shot, 10 came back. The arithmetic was already against them. On the decks of USS Texas, gunners worked with factory precision. In the opening phase alone, Texas fired 255 shells, each weighing over 1,400 pounds. That's more firepower than an entire German artillery regiment could manage. And Texas was just one ship. Multiply her firepower by dozens of battleships, cruisers, and destroyers, and the math becomes overwhelming. The invasion wasn't just an assault. It was an industrial demonstration. Every German bunker, trench, and strongpoint had already been assigned a precise tonnage of steel and explosives. By sunrise, the sky itself had turned into an Allied weapon. Nearly 14,700 Allied sorties took off that day. Fighters, bombers, reconnaissance planes, while the Luftwaffe managed just 319. That's a ratio of 46-1. For German officers, even sending a courier became impossible. Roads were strafed, radios jammed, and the only German plane most soldiers saw was a lone FW-190, making 2 desperate passes over Omaha Beach. It wasn't a counterattack, it was a gesture. At Omaha, the landings nearly failed. Machine guns and bunkers cut down wave after wave. Entire companies were pinned to the sand, and then 3 American destroyers made a decision no plan had ordered. The captains of USS Frankfurt, Macomb, and Carmack pushed their ships dangerously close within 1,000 yards of the beach, so close their hulls scraped sandbars. At that range, their 5-inch guns became scalpels. They blasted pillboxes point blank, silencing strong points that hours of bombardment had failed to crack. Those ships took hits. The beachhead held because ships were treated as expendable tools in a machine that could always replace them. By nightfall, the true power of the invasion was revealed, not in the guns, but in the flow of men and supplies. 156,000 troops, 1,700 tanks, and 15,000 tons of equipment came ashore in just one day. And offshore, engineers were already assembling something unprecedented. A man-made harbor. Over 600,000 tons of concrete and 10 miles of floating roadways formed the Mulberry Harbor, capable of unloading 9,000 tons of cargo a day. The Germans had fortified every real port. The Allies simply built their own. For the Germans, the truth became inescapable. Each hour brought fresh waves of men and machines. Every destroyed bunker was replaced by more firepower. By the time reserves finally moved, Allied bombers had already erased entire divisions. Survivors later admitted they hadn't been defeated by tactics or bravery. They had been defeated by numbers. In 1944, Allied factories built 96,000 aircraft. Germany built 39,000. Tanks, trucks, shells. The disparity was even greater. The war was no longer about strategy. It was arithmetic. D-Day wasn't just the turning point of the war. It was the moment the world saw what happens when industry itself becomes a weapon.